the ultimate fishing authority in the Northeast, the Fisherman magazine.
The 2025 fall run, less of a run really. It's more of a crawl this year, especially for surfcasters. Very little in the Natty Geo department this season in the surf on the beaches. A little different for folks with boats in the water throughout November and into December, especially those of you this week who have your boats in the water in Cape May County. It's Thursday, December 11th. I'm Jim Hutchinson with your New Jersey, Delaware Bay video fishing forecast for the week. And on the screen right now, to my left, it's an 1876 photo of the Valkyrie Brünnhilde, as played by opera singer Amalie Materna. It's from a musical by Wagner. Wagner is, it's with a W. It should be Wagner, or Wagner, but it's Wagner. He's a composer. He gave us the dramatic music, the helicopter music from Apocalypse Now. But in the final part of Wagner's Ring of the Nibelung, when this buxom lady here steps on stage, rest assured the show is almost over. It's sort of like Peter Gabriel doing Biko. If you hear Biko at a Peter Gabriel show, that's his last encore song. It's not going to go on. Or Jalen Hurts with the ball in the red zone with under a minute to go. Game over. But I digress. As the saying goes, it ain't over until the fat lady sings. And that's where the fat lady comes from Wagner. As for surfcasters in general in New Jersey, who might be hoping for some kind of frenetic surf bite going into December with striped bass, well, let me just say, Brünnhilde is on the beach. Perhaps a sand eel flurry this month like days of old, and I expect a few pockets of action down the Jersey coast, especially as you get into Cape May County. There's no telling where they're going to pop up. Been very much harder to predict in Atlantic and Cape May County as it has been in recent years in Ocean and Monmouth County, but that bite never really materialized, so who knows what's going to go on. But at this point, the reports we're getting out of the Cape May County area, a large concentration of striped bass appears to be at this moment there, about a mile or two off the beach. So where I am in Brick, yeah, I've got surf reels to get serviced. So Frankie, Z, I'll see you pretty soon. That said, I did find this photo in my email box on Monday morning to start the week. It's from Eric Gundrum from Rio Grande, New Jersey, saying, quote, "They are here." This was Sunday. Captain Tim with a striper caught 2 miles off the Wildwood Ferris wheel. Quote, "Storm bunker shad was the lucky lure on the outside of the bunker school." That's what Eric told me. Also heard from 12-year-old Carson Plisco out fishing with his dad 2 miles out front of Atlantic City over the weekend, jig fishing in the cold. Managed a 42-inch over, which was released, as well as a 30-inch slot, which they kept for the table. Again, what we're going to do this week is refer you back to thefisherman.com and our fishing reports because we compile them every week. They get posted on Monday. But if you go to thefisherman.com and go to the South Jersey reports, Anthony Califano's South Jersey report from this weekend, he said, quote, "Fish to almost 50 inches were caught this week, well within the 3-mile limit from Atlantic City down to Cape May." Remember, there's no targeting of striped bass outside the 3-mile line. That's federal waters. And it's against the law to even target striped bass outside of 3 miles. That is the forbidden zone. But if your boat is in the water right now, Cape May County, across to Delaware, you have that shot, finally, on striped bass arriving in your home waters. You might want to troll a bit on the way out. Put those umbrella rigs out there. The Niners have these swim shads, the shad bodies for those umbrellas also have the tubes, just in case there's sand eels. Then if you find some stripers, you find some marks, you want to get them down. Get the swim shads down. Maybe the fish are on top. But there's still opportunities to brave the elements and catch some striped bass, especially in South Jersey. Cold snap, of course, this week. A lot of folks out in the woods for the 6-day shotgun season in New Jersey for deer. Otherwise, indoors, keeping warm. That's where I was. Lows in the upper 20s in the forecast out of Cape May for this Saturday, but otherwise, the next several days look a lot balmier than they have been to start this week. So yeah, it's always worth putting an Ava jig and a teaser in the wash, maybe some swim shads. There are still some stripers around, and there will be all winter long. That matter of the striper migration, the massive fish now down off of South Jersey, Delaware, Delmarva even, But sure, we've got resident stripers accessible out front along the front beaches all season long, January and February. That closure in the back bays of New Jersey doesn't exist until January 1st. It runs through the end of February, but that is west of the coal regs. That means the inlets, the estuaries, the back bays and sod banks, but you can still have at them on the open beaches. Going back to South Jersey and Cape May, I spoke with Captain Kyle Scott this week. He runs Common Sense Charters out of South Jersey Marina. He told me that the action has been very good in the 2 to under 3 mile zone, that shore range there inside state coastal waters when they can get out. He's catching stripers on the troll, as I said, but also stopping on marks and surface signs, jigging, fishing shads, a little bit of live bait in there as well. His quote to me on Monday was, "Plenty of great opportunities." So you still have that in the mix. Moving off of striped bass and wherever they may be, the other big news that we have this week, it was reported at thefisherman.com over the weekend, from Fisherman's headquarters in Ship Bottom, which weighed in a hefty 22.8-pound blackfish for the crew of John Ginsberg, Gary Adair, Richie Faramasca, and Magic Tales Dante Sorrente over the weekend. Now, according to Fish Heads, that crew also landed another dozen double-digit tog on the trip that were released. Endless roasters, too, stuck in the cooler. But I'll tell you what, somebody's got some quality tog numbers out there. That is a good haul. 22.8 is one monster fish. Now, we didn't have that photo earlier this week when we sent out the e-news alert. Of course, if you're subscribed, you get those twice a week emails from us at thefisherman.com. But we mentioned that weigh-in that we registered at the Fisherman's headquarters post this week. But that is that 22-pound tog. It is just a monster. I know plenty of head boats at the Jersey Shore kind of moving off of striped bass at this point. It's the upper half of the Garden State, because a lot of folks out of Manasquan, Barnegat, even into Shark River, were still focused on striped bass until last week. A lot of folks now migrating over to blackfish at this point, just like some of the boats like the Starfish out of Cape May County. A lot of those boats looking for tog as well. And of course, we still have the opportunity with black sea bass and porgies. So that reminder, of course, tog, blackfish in New Jersey will carry on into 2026, into January, as does porgy. Black sea bass, on the other hand, you only have until December 31st to get your score of black sea bass. And of course, any striped bass which have tucked inside our bays and estuaries, the toms, the mullica, the great egg, you can have at them right now until the end of December. Once January 1st hits, back bay stripers are off limits. Now back to black sea bass and fluke. We'll put that in the mix as well. We're going to know more next week in terms of what we're looking at in terms of black sea bass regulations and fluke regulations in 2026. The Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council will meet in Washington, D.C. next week. Tuesday the 16th, there will be a sector separation discussion. That's always fun. That's at 1 p.m. That's followed by fluke at 3:30. So I'm hoping to sit through that meeting and maybe have some information for you by next week's video. Porgy is on the docket for Wednesday the 17th at 9 a.m., followed by what should be or could be a rather contentious discussion on black sea bass. That's at 10:30 a.m. Next Wednesday at the Mid-Atlantic Fishery Management Council. I'll try to have some updates available for you next week, but we'll see what happens. Black sea bass, of course, statistically, according to ASMFC, Mid-Atlantic Council, NOAA Fisheries, it's at 2.84 times the biomass target. That means the spawning stock biomass, right now it's at 68 million pounds. The target for rebuilding, when it was trying to be rebuilt, the target was 24 million pounds. We're like 40 million pounds or more over the target, yet our angler access is still severely restricted out of what apparently is an abundance of precaution at the government. They don't want us to tap into that reserve. I wish the Fed was a little bit more conservative with our tax dollars as they are with fish.
Introducing the Proof Ball. The Proof Ball is a handheld fishing tool that lets you accurately measure fish from your smartphone using AI. It works on trout, bass, saltwater species, anything you can name. It also gives you a private digital journal of all your catches so you can map them and see details about them, and you can scroll a catch feed of what other people are catching. The best part is it's only $25 and there's no subscription. Visit fishtechie.com.
I do have some government info to share this week. We'll do that later on in this segment. Legislation on the beach buggy permits at Island Beach State Park and an attempt by urban legislators in New Jersey to put animal rights activists on the Fish and Game Council. Strange but true. But before we do that, a reminder, Hanukkah begins on Sunday, December 14th. That runs through December 22nd. That puts the holiday rush into perspective. We are in holiday crunch time. We've been chasing stripers for so long, it is time to get geared up for the holidays. Now this Sunday night, when the first candle on the menorah is lit, Jenny Ackerman will help get you into the holiday gift season, the holiday spirit. She's got gift ideas from the world of fishing tackle on location from last week's Folsom show. Here's a little tease on what you'll find.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's Open Boat, and to get you in the holiday season, I'm here at the Folsom show, and we're talking to my good friend, all the reps, and we're seeing what we can find to fit in your stocking. I know, of course, you can't put a rod in your stocking, but you can wrap it under the tree, and I've already spotted a familiar face at the America Sport Fishing Association booth. Check it out, guys. You all know her, huh?
Escape the cold and spend January at Snook's Nook in Southwest Florida. Just $2,800 gets you this one-bedroom condo, boat slip, and heated pool. Don't be left out in the cold. Visit snooksnook.com before it's too late.
World-famous fishing action. Plan your perfect trip today. Tropic Star Lodge, the ultimate in fishing adventures for more than 60 years.
For more than 20 years, anglers everywhere have come to know one thing. That nothing says no to fish bites.
Again, Jenny's full open boat feature. It's about 11 minutes long. It's all for the holidays. That's going to premiere this Sunday night on the Fisherman Magazine's YouTube channel. Now, to help get you into the holiday spirit right now, I've got some messages for you. Phil and the boys at the Tackle Box in Hazlitt, they're holding their annual Holiday Bass Bazaar this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, December 13th and 14th. Bazaar, not bizarre crazy, but bazaar like a big sale. They've got bluff lures, buds and bass above the hook, and pictures with a fishing Santa. So go down there and do that. Plus, Phil said they're having their special gift buckets again this year. It's just loaded with a potpourri of gifts. And it's not bizarre, it's awesome. Because if you don't know what to get somebody, you just get them one of these giant buckets filled with stuff for fishing. And they've got sales, specials, hot cocoa, and candy canes both days, Saturday and Sunday, 10 to 3. Also this Saturday, the Grumpy Santa tradition will continue at Grumpy's Tackle in Seaside in honor of the late Tom Grumpy Hansen himself. Grumpy Santa will be there 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. on Saturday. There will be a store-wide sale, bake sale with raffles to benefit the St. Jude's Children's Hospitals. Now, while the fat man is in the house, if you want to ignore the fat lady singing on the beach, from Monday, December 15th through the end of the year, December 31st, join the Grumpy's first annual Polar Striper Plunge. Free entry for hardcore surfcasters, and a winner of that December tournament will be commemorated on a plaque inside the shop. Hopefully it's not next to a picture of Scott Thomas. But anyway, it's going to be something to be honored. One Stop Bait and Tackle. They've got their event going on throughout December. Striped Bass and Tog Tournament. That continues through December 20th, which is a good sign because there's a lot of tog being caught on the jetty rocks. Water temperatures really have plummeted. Ocean water temperatures in the last 2 weeks. I think it's a little bit different from 2024 when we had tog on the inlet rocks all the way through December, but it's still worth a look. First place striped bass is a custom-made house rod, same for tog. Plus, Noel and the crew at One Stop Bait and Tackle have a special toy drive going right now as well. Make sure you bring in a toy to One Stop Bait and Tackle. Noel says, quote, "Let's fish, have fun, and make a child's holiday even brighter." Stop into the shop and get all details on that. What makes my holidays a little brighter is knowing that this time next year, Phil Murphy will not be governor of the state of New Jersey. It's not partisan, folks. Phil just really didn't care about fishing. We have a governor-elect, Mikey Sherrill. She becomes the new governor in January. She has pledged in the Fisherman magazine, mind you, quote, "a culture shift in Trenton," she told us in October. promising, quote, "I will work with the recreational fishing community as a partner. I will give you a seat at the table when decisions are being made in Trenton." Boy, is that refreshing to hear. Lame duck legislation in Trenton right now to tell you about another week or two of active legislating in Trenton. So there's a couple of bills, a few bills that we should keep an eye out on. One is a Fish and Game Council bill that would put 3 animal rights activists on the Fish and Game Council. I'm going to tell you about that in just a few minutes. But for a little taste of irony here, let's go to Pensy. Yes, because one of the other pieces of legislation is the fact that there's legislation to guarantee that Island Beach State Park beach buggy permits will be granted to New Jersey residents before out-of-state residents. So there's your irony look. When we go to Pennsylvania right now for a freshwater rundown with my good friend George Schauer, the Pocono Outdoors Guy.
Well, hey, thanks, Jim. Now, that didn't take long, did it? You know, just last week we were talking about maybe with the temps coming up, we'd start to see some ice, and boom, there it is. 1 week later, we're already seeing some anglers out on the hard water. Now, it's not everywhere, guys. You can depend on where you're at. I was down by Allentown today in Pennsylvania, and they're just starting to build ice. North of Route 80 here in Pennsylvania, New Jersey, guys are out there already fishing on better than 4 inches of ice, so it's very dependent, and it's going to vary lake by lake. I'm just below Route 80 here, and this is only about 2 inches thick. Not quite ready for anglers yet. You can see there's nobody out here, but it is starting to get some good ice. First ice of the season, guys, always the exciting time of year. A couple folks already checking in. We have my good friend Josh Taylor, of course. He's going to be the first guy out in the ice if there is any. He was out in the northern counties of Pennsylvania, finding himself a couple of bass, some pickerel, some perch, all the normal stuff we would get this year, but it's always good to get those first hard water fish under your belt. We also had checking in Tom Lawrence. He was up at Tobyhanna State Park. Says they are definitely getting on some fish up there. There's some great brook trout fishing up there and some perch and of course some slime darts as usual, but the guys are getting into some fish. Now Tom was also out just before the big freeze out in the Lehigh River, and he managed to get in some nice brown trout as well. But we do have that open water fish, guys, in the lakes, creeks, and streams. Still plenty of trout. You got walleye, you got smallmouth. There's still some open water fishing if you guys do want to get out on that. But take a look, depends where you're at. Double check the ice before you head out, guys. Don't get into anything tragic before the holiday here, but get out and enjoy. From Pennsylvania, I'm George, your Pocono Outdoors Guy.
Introducing the Yak Attack Sandrig Surf Cart, the ultimate beach hauler for serious anglers. Glide effortlessly over soft sand with wide balloon wheels and lightweight, corrosion-resistant construction that's completely customizable with options. Whether it's rods, coolers, or tackle, haul it all with ease. Built by surf fishermen and engineered by Yak Attack.
So this week, I'm kind of wrapping up for the 2025 season. I've got the 2026 January edition coming up. I start cleaning up my office, but I pulled a couple of items down from my bookshelf. So I keep a couple of things that are pretty cool. I've got one of the original creek chub jointed pikeys up here. Some really cool things. I did an article last year because Ed Masunas had given me one of the original Upperman's red and white bucktails, red and white for Old Barney. Fishmaster from Quincy, Massachusetts. This one's pretty cool. It is the Al Foss pork rind minnow. And let me show you what this looks like, because we talk about pork rinds quite a bit. Well, this one's a pretty cool one. This is the Little Egypt from Al Foss, a neat little jig head. Patented in 1928, one of the other kind of cool things that I have. I was just looking at this stuff because I had a conversation at the Folsom show last week. We're going to go into a little bit of nostalgia and trivia. So take a look at this one. This is the Zara Super Magnum, the Super Magnum Zara Spook from Heddon Lures. So if you saw the video last week at the end, I spoke with Alberto Nate, Crazy Alberto, who'd gone through a health scare. He was in a hospital for a long time in the summer and into the fall. We were really nervous. And I was so excited when I saw Al at the show last week. So we sat down and we started talking to Al, who's back in the saddle making lures. You can find that exclusive interview right now over at thefisherman.com. But in the video, if you look closely, you'll see that I'm holding this plastic prototype. It was a clear plastic prototype, and that's what a lot of the plastic lures look like when they're unpainted. They're not painted. They're in the prototype phase. They look almost ghostly. So anyway, I'm at the Tactical Anglers booth talking to Alberto, and then I start talking to Steve Weitzman. And Steve is a tackle rep from out in Long Island. Yeah, I know I shouldn't take my toys out of the original packaging, but I'm going to do it anyway. He offered a piece of trivia that I had no idea about, but it painted a clear picture on my head on one of the great crossover baits from fresh to salt that we have in our striper fishery right now, the Spook. So this is a spook, and it's designed originally by Heddon, all right? And this, of course, is the Super Magnum Zara Spook from Heddon. I don't even catch fish this big. That's why it's not in my plug bag. But these walk the dog style lures, the smaller ones especially, are fantastic when stripers are on baits like bunker or herring. Like I've got the Game On. This one's I think it's called the Tail Walker. A great lure. Tsunami's got a similar plug. It's a top water. It's got a nice wobble to it. Now, if you know the dock, right? The docks, they're kind of spooky looking lures. The dock is pretty much a spook, but the dock is made by Drifter Tackle. That came over from the Muskie Mania line. So a lot of these big type of spook baits are coming over from the muskie fishery. But the docks are similar to these. But this, of course, the original spook was made by Heddon. So a dock is pretty much a spook, sort of like the Game On X-Walk is a spooky kind of lure, or the Tsunami Tidal Pro Topwater is spookish. But the original spook was the Heddon, all right? So where did it get the spook angle from? Why a spook? Well, that came around 1939, 1940. The original versions of these were made with wood, right? And then Heddon goes over to a plastic model. And it goes and they put that they put that plastic mold out there that you see through. So one of the guys on the floor of the manufacturing, doing the manufacturing, says, that looks really spooky. It's almost ghost-like. So the original spook got its name because of the plastic prototype, which we see today in a lot of these 3D printed lures. It was see-through, it was clear, it was spooky. So that's where the spook angle came from. But the original Heddon lure, the original spookish lure from Heddon, was actually called the Zara. So the very first wooden version was called the Zaragoza Minnow before it became the Zara Spook. Look, if I have this wrong, it's Weitzman's fault, okay? So blame him. But I did Google some of this history, so it's kind of corroborated. Consider this as the wooden Zaragoza Minnow before it became the plastic Zara Spook. It got its name from a very unique place in Pensacola, Florida. Now, Heddon's original Zaragoza was patented by a guy named William Stolley. It was first called the Florida Wonder, and it was made out of wood until the plastics revolution around 1939 to 1940. So the plastic version, the Zara Spook, was born around then. Now, the term Zara comes from Zaragoza Street in Pensacola, Florida, which was an infamous red light district in the early part of the 20th century. So here's another Google for you. Google Molly McCoy sometime when you get a chance. She was a madam at a brothel. And as the legend goes, the Heddon named their lure the Zaragoza because of the enticing side-to-side motion of this lure. It moved like one of Molly McCoy's ladies of the night, snaking and slithering her way down Zaragoza Street in the 1930s. So the Zaragoza Minnow became the Zara Spook, and today we have the spookish style plugs and lures of the same kind of look and feel. They're all kind of spookish. This is the original spook. This is the original Zara, and now you know where it got its name. Somewhere on the ports of Pensacola, sailors on leave. And now you know the rest of the story. Hey, listen, this Sunday, we're going to print with the January edition. Yeah, I'm shocked as you are. We're in the middle of December now, and we're already starting to look at 2026. That's why over the next several weeks when I do my video, I'm going to be interchanging 25 and 26 because I can't keep track of the editorial that's coming out. But we are getting this all printed out prior to Christmas. I have a little write-up in that edition that you'll read about, a news brief pertaining to a late last-minute legislative attempt by the state assembly, Assemblywoman Annette Quijano of Union, and in the Senate by Brian Stack of Hudson County. Assembly Bill A6055 and Senate Bill S4893, if passed, would replace 3, quote, sportsmen on the New Jersey Fish and Game Council, which oversees hunting and freshwater fishing issues in the state of New Jersey. It would replace these hunters or anglers with 3, quote, individuals recommended to the governor for appointment to the council by animal welfare organizations in this state. Animal welfare. Can you imagine a future of hunting and fishing in the state of New Jersey with 3 animal rights activists deciding how we're going to hunt and fish? It's actually frightening. Now, those bills were dropped in mid-November. They would theoretically have to clear through the Assembly Committee and a Senate Committee to get those committees to pass it along to the full legislature for final passage with the governor's signature before he leaves office. A new legislative term will begin in January. I did receive a friend working with the NJOA that simply said this: that bill is dead. Let's hope that's true, because as much as I thought the ridiculous beach buggy permitting lottery at Island Beach was the parting shot by this administration, by Governor Phil Murphy and DEP Commissioner Sean LaTourette, this bill represents a nuclear bomb on our community. Now, the other piece of legislation I alluded to before, and that has to do with the ill-conceived lottery that was put together for the beach permits at Island Beach State Park. This dropped recently. I expect it'll probably get reintroduced in 2026. But it's one that reinforces the fact that mobile sport fishing permits mean permits of any type, class, or duration for driving on the beach for fishing purposes. Now, this particular set of bills, Senate Bill S4775, sponsored by Senators Shirley K. Turner of Hunterdon Mercer and Carmen Amato Jr. of Ocean. It was co-sponsored by my Senator, James Holzapfel. In the Assembly, it is A6229, sponsored by Assemblyman Brian Rumpf of Ocean Counties down there, Little Egg Harbor, Tuckerton area. If it would pass, it would require the Department of Environmental Protection, quote, to sell mobile sport fishing permits in a manner that provides for an initial 14-day period during which only New Jersey residents are able to purchase the permits. Again, DEP Commissioner Sean LaTourette broke this system, went online first, and when that was it was getting screwed up, then they went to the lottery system and pretty much crippled the entire process. And the biggest problem was that Commissioner LaTourette's DEP, I guess they're his instructions, don't check for anybody fishing on the beaches of Island Beach, give beach buggy permits to anybody. That's why it has gotten so difficult. So we have to go back to state regulations and why you're allowed to drive on the beach, and that is exclusively for fishing purposes. I will have more on this next week when we come to the table with the January edition of the Fisherman magazine. In addition to our boat buyer's guide for 2026 and our calendar of events, we have some how-to articles in there to look forward to, but I also write up this particular state code that says the Island Beach State Island Beach State Park buggy permits are for fishing purposes only, and they have to be administered in person at the gatehouse. We'll take a look at that. We'll also dig in to some of the latest striped bass research. I've been getting a lot of emails in the last week and a half. Next week, we'll look at some of these studies that have come out. There's 2 particular studies, one on catch and release and the other on angler beliefs, habits in catch and release mortality. Both of those are coming out of Massachusetts. We'll dig into those a little bit more deeply next week. Until then, stay warm, enjoy some holiday shopping this weekend. You've got plenty of options for getting anglers on the list, something special. Pick up that December edition of the Fisherman magazine. Of course, you still have that in the house. Lots of ideas in here in our holiday gift guide. It's all in there. And of course, maybe this weekend, you want to get into your personal best tog and load up on black sea bass. Catch them up. I'll see you again next week.